Live from our 7 Tasmania studios, your nightly news with Kim Miller begins now.
Good evening, everyone. Police are investigating whether 2 of the fires that started in the Central Highlands yesterday were deliberately lit. 2 people have already been charged for lighting separate fires in the state's south, while crews have continued battling multiple blazes today. Cooler temperatures brought some relief for firefighters and local residents.
The temperature might have dropped, but the risk was still there to see this morning. Smoke still billowing in the Central Highlands as support from the sky continued. As the battle wore on, local residents gathered at Ooze to be briefed. For many, it's been a tough 24 hours.
Last night we could see smoke and we're concerned.
Our community are obviously nervous because with so many fires within the area, we're just waiting.
Some choosing between staying and going.
We're going to stay and fight, so we can't run away. We also got 300 animals.
Last night's cool change brought relief after 5 blazes were ignited yesterday. The TFS says 3 fires, 1 at Osterley and 2 at D Lagoon, are continuing to cause concern. An estimated 4,000 hectares have been burnt, with some property lost.
We know of 2 shacks that have been destroyed by the fire currently, and some Hydro Tasmania assets.
Police investigations appearing to confirm the unthinkable.
That examination has currently shown is that it's highly likely that 2 of those fires were deliberately lit.
The revelation sparking outrage.
It's appalling. It has the potential to risk the lives of the community.
Just can't understand why that sort of behaviour is happening, and it puts so many lives at risk.
Watch and acts remain in place at Victoria Valley, Osterley, Dee, Brady's Lake, Tarraleah and surrounds, along with numerous road closures. The TFS also has a blunt message for visitors this weekend.
If you do not need to be in the area, please don't go to that part of the state.
The strong winds will ease tonight, but with warm weather back next week, crews are racing to prevent flare-ups. All warnings and closures are available at the Tas Alerts website. John Hunt, 7 Tasmania News.
Communities on the state's east coast impacted by floodwaters on Wednesday will be able to access financial support for the clean-up. The Premier activating Tasmanian relief and recovery arrangements. St Helens worst affected by the deluge when storms dumped 150 millimetres of rain on the coastal town. Residents and businesses dealing with storm damage should contact Break a Day Council. Hobart International Airport could host direct flights to Asia under a Labor tourism election promise. It's part of a tourism and hospitality package unveiled as the party looks to win votes, while the Liberals spruik a new workforce training facility.
Launching a $90 million plan to help Tassie tourism take off.
Tasmania's visitor economy is so vital for our state's vibrancy and who we are as a place and a people.
There's money to attract international flights between Asia and Hobart, a $50 million innovation fund, support for hospitality programs and money for the proposed Cradle Mountain Cableway.
It supports jobs right across the state, particularly in regional areas. So what we're very grateful to see is an investment into demand generation.
Yeah, the more heads we get on beds and the more bums we get on seats in our restaurants and bars, the hospitality industry is really happy.
With Rebecca White's stadium stand still under the spotlight, she's convinced renegotiating the deal is possible, but won't be drawn on how.
Well, I look forward to sitting down with the AFL and discussing that. That's what we do. I'm not going to have negotiations with the AFL through the media.
As speculation continues about the federal contribution and whether it will be exempted from GST payments. If not, potentially causing our share to drop.
It means that we won't have that $240 million to spend on the things that Tasmanians are crying out for.
The state government piling the pressure on their federal colleagues.
What I expect of every single member of parliament is to advocate for the best deal possible from the federal government.
The self-proclaimed builders promising a live earthworks training centre in the north.
The opportunity with a space like this is you can actually dig holes safely with some control and still learn, but learn in a real environment.
So you can come in here in the future, you get your tickets and you get into it, and you'll be building our state.
Moving heaven and earth to win votes. Josh Duggan, 7 Tasmania News.
45 people have been arrested and charged with more than 400 separate offences after officers from Police Task Force Viper seized 36 firearms, $45,000 in cash and quantities of ice, cocaine, ecstasy and cannabis. The sting focused around Launceston over the past
Community
month.
safety is a priority for Tasmania Police. Reducing firearm crime within our community, as we understand the impact it holds, is a big focus for us.
Those arrested are facing firearms, drugs, burglary, assault, stealing and family violence charges. Felix Ellis has been accused of overruling Tasmania Police and weakening firearms laws. The service announced last month it would require owners of antique firearms to obtain a licence and do a safety course. But today, Felix Ellis announced a re-elected Liberal government would amend laws only requiring the guns to be registered,
so that we can support responsible firearms owners, particularly of antiques, and Tasmania Police, of course, will be a key part of delivering that.
Labor's committed to do the same, while the Greens say it puts politics ahead of safety. Travellers are en route to a more comfortable experience at Hobart Airport, with construction on its terminal taking off today. More space, more shops and more jobs. That's the goal of the $1 million build, expected to finish in 3 years' time.
Hobart International Airport flying high with $200 million worth of renovations up and away.
It gets quite crowded in both the departure and arrival areas of the terminal. So this long overdue upgrade is going to create a much better experience for passengers.
Privately funded by the airport, the expansion will include a third security screening lane, 2 more gates, another baggage carousel and extra space in the departures lounge, with the terminal almost doubling its current size. 10 retail and hospitality outlets and a new Qantas club also part of the design.
There aren't aero bridges in this plan. The reason for that is they're very expensive to build, and we want to make sure that we're not putting any additional pressure on airfares.
Hutchinson Builders driving the revamp, which is set to create around 450 jobs.
The project will be phased and staged over 3 years. So for our team here in Tassie, it's security for them and our subcontractors.
Travellers assured operations won't be disrupted.
It's not going to be pretty all the time, so there will be hoardings and there will be tunnels, but it'll be safe, it'll be clean and there'll be amenity for everyone.
It comes ahead of a foot traffic boom, with passenger numbers predicted to soar from 2.6 million a year to 3.5 by 2040.
The design, once completed, will accommodate 4.5 million passengers a year. So it's actually building in some capacity and some redundancy for the future.
Brianna Boylan, 7 Tasmania News.
The first walkers have hit the path this afternoon as the Cataract Gorge reopens to the public. It's been closed since July, when a privately owned retaining wall above collapsed.
It was a massive bulk earth-moving exercise to remove the wall, but then return the slope and revegetate it back to its more natural topography to remove risk associated with the sliding of the rock.
We understand the impacts that this area does have and the contribution that it makes to our tourist community and our local community.
Council removed 1,500 tonne of rock to make the area safe. The University of Tasmania has unveiled its long-awaited workshop and studios in Launceston. Originally a diesel locomotive shop, the $27 million refurbishment will house 500 students and 50 staff from the faculties of Architecture, Design, ICT and Creative Arts.
Spaces that inspire students are really important, and when you've got students who are doing all of these creative professions, it really matters to be in a very creative space, and that's what you'll find here.
Semester 1 begins on Monday. Tasmanian truck owners are getting into gear ahead of an iconic run next weekend. Organisers of the annual event are hoping to draw a record number of entries, raising funds for an important local charity.
It's a convoy which has become an annual institution in northern Tasmania for more than 40 years. Tasmanian truck owners and operators driving their rigs from the city to Longford, all in the name of charity.
Last year we had about 160, 170 trucks, and we believe we can get to 200 this year.
Carl Wagner will be one of those driving his Max superliner in the convoy. He's been busy making sure his 1984 Mark I shines for the event. He'll be driving in memory of his late father, Dave, who shared his son's passion for restoring vintage trucks. They worked on it together before Dave succumbed to cancer.
We did finish it just in time. He got to drive it, and then 4 days later he passed away. So it's a legacy truck, and we love it, and we like to show it.
Reviving the old truck not cheap, a $150,000 job, but most truckies take pride in their vehicles. Life member of Tasmanian Truck Owners and Operators Robert Wise says the event's initial intention decades ago was to show the public truckies weren't a bad bunch.
So we added a bit of a name around where there wasn't that much good to truckies. So I said, well, we'll get together, we'll prove them wrong.
Prove them wrong, they did. They've raised tens of thousands of dollars for charity over the decades. This year's run will see funds donated to the Royal Flying Doctors Service. Melinda Ogden, 7 Tasmania News.
A Taiwanese artist has become one with Tasmania, painting the state's flora and fauna on a linen canvas as part of Monofoma. Complemented by natural sounds, Yahon Zhang uses a variety of brushes in his work, some as large as himself, others made from local plants.
He wishes that this performance would raise awareness of how Tasmanian people love and treasure and protect the wild nature.
Zhang will swap water for ink when he performs tomorrow afternoon.
With a home final on Wednesday night, the Jackies are asking us to paint the state green to show our support. Facing league danger team Illawarra, they will need all the help they can get, but they're cool as cucumbers, being no strangers to the postseason. 3 final series in 3 years, the countdown's on to defend the island again, and heading into a weekend off, it's so far so good in Jackie's camp.
Knock on wood, everything is going pretty well. Our guys are relatively healthy. We'll have a few days off again, and then we'll get back at it at the beginning of the week, but our guys are in good spirits.
That also goes for Majuk Dang, back on court after a Christmas Day ankle injury.
Put him out there for a few minutes here and there and see how he does, and just see where he is. And the good news is we have quality players at those spots. Fab can play the 4. Jack obviously is there.
The Jackies have a new supporter in 6-time NBA champ Scottie Pippen in Hobart for a speaking tour.
They're due for a championship. I mean, you can't continue to go there and not gain the experience and the knowledge and know how to win a title.
The young club's accomplishments aren't lost on its founder either.
I feel like a proud father of the Jack Jumpers to have them in the finals, 3 years in a row, successful on and off the court.
On the hunt for a new owner, lifting the NBL trophy would surely improve the club's bankability.
I'm trying really hard to make sure I find the right custodians first in Tasmania. That's my #1 priority. I'm going to try to not leave any stone unturned before we move overseas.
But the immediate road ahead will be tough, starting with the Hawks.
I don't think we fear anyone. I think it's just really internally about what we're doing and how we're going about our business.
Molly Strano's race to be ready for tomorrow's WNCL final will go down to the wire. The spinner is in the Tigers' 14-woman squad, with the captain confident Strano will put the team first. The 2 skippers, meanwhile, coming together this morning for the traditional trophy shoot. Elise Villani says she's taking nothing for granted as the team looks to complete a three-peat.
There's people in our team that haven't been in this position as well, so although it's an amazing achievement for the organisation, it's a brand new team each and every year.
Despite losing players to the Women's IPL, Queensland's captain says it could be a blessing in disguise.
We play our best when our back's against the wall in a way. Sometimes we struggle when it's almost when we feel a little bit too comfortable.
They're hoping for a full house at Blunston at 2 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. The Aussie senior track cycling team has set up camp at the Silver Dome, preparing for a big month ahead, starting with the Australian Championships in Brisbane before flying to Hong Kong for the Nations Cup. It's crunch time for Paris qualification. Locals Felicity Wilson-Hafferton and Josh Duffy are on the team, every member pushing each other, even though they're all vying for limited Olympic spots.
A lot of the competition comes from within. There's a lot of the European nations out there racing each other right now, and we're down in Tassie just giving each other hell. So we need that for the culture and for us to line up for the Olympics.
Having only taken up the sport a few years ago, 19-year-old Felicity cites more on LA 2028.
It's a bit of a reoccurring thing I've been told of late. Slow down, be patient. Last year was huge and I achieved a lot, but it's a big step up this year.
Also on the radar is the World Track Championships in October. A man of the match performance from Tassie's Jack Welsh has helped the Kookaburras to a 4-1 win over Ireland in the Hockey Pro League.
I think we played really well, especially towards the end. A lot of ball possession, a lot of control, so pretty happy for the performance tonight.
The Kookaburras sit comfortably at second in the standings. Meanwhile, the Boomers left it late to prevail over Korea in their Asian Cup qualifier. Burnie's Taryn Armstrong putting in the legwork early and recording the first points of the game, returning a short time later with a 3-pointer. They play Indonesia on Sunday. Finally to bowls, and in a game of millimetres, it was a Hail Mary shot from the Adelaide Pioneers that ended the Trident's BPL campaign in the elimination final this evening. Tassie unable to pull off a similar miracle with their final bowl.
Oh my goodness, that was a shot.
Pioneers take it in the elimination final.
Earlier today, Burnie's Jonty Hayes and Port Sorell's Logan Marshall claimed the inaugural Junior BPL Challenge, bowling for Melbourne Extreme alongside Victorian Emily Davies.
Good evening. Hobart 21 degrees today. That's 14 less than yesterday. Launceston 23, Devonport 22 and Burnie 20. Temperatures obviously cooled down today, most below average. St Helens with 25, the warmest. Friendly Beaches 24, Flinders Island 21, Lowhead 20, Bushy Park 19, King Island 17. A cool day in Strawn, a top of 16 degrees. The brisk westerly winds push cloud and a few showers over the west and far south today. Looking further upstream, low cloud also sits over Victoria and coastal parts of WA and South Australia. A tropical low is offshore there off northern WA. Tomorrow, an area of high pressure moves over southeastern Australia. That tropical low now has a name. It's Lincoln, and he should cross the West Australian coast during the day. Winds here west to southwesterly at 15 to 25 knots, reaching 30 knots over the south and southeast. Swells in western and southern waters to 4 metres. We do have a strong wind warning. That's on from Wineglass Bay down and around to Low Rocky Point. Saturday's forecast for Hobart, a sunny 24, 22 for Medina, sunny for Oatlands, 25 the maximum. Launceston, a high tomorrow of 27, a nice day, 22 for Devonport. Cloud clearing from Lyowini, 22 the maximum. A cool 3 overnight though. 21 for Burnie and sunny, partly cloudy for Strawn and 20 for Marrawar. St Helens tomorrow, a high of 20 degrees, 23 for Swansea, mostly sunny 2 for Orford and 24 degrees. A clean slate for Saturday. On Sunday though, fine apart from a shower in the west extending later to the south. Just a possible early shower for Strawn on Monday, fine for the rest of the state. And on Tuesday, a fine sunny day over the lower east coast and the southeast, but a shower over the north. A shower and 31 in Perth tomorrow, sunny weather in Adelaide, 22 with some cloud cover in Melbourne, showers easing from Sydney, but possible storms for Brisbane and Darwin. Bit of cloud over Hobart, 17, 20 in Launceston right now and 19 in Devonport. Now back to Kim Miller, who's not just a newsreader, she's a voice coach, a conference convener and a hot yoga instructor. Sorry, a hot yoga instructor. Gotta get that right.
Reading out my resume, and lucky you got that right. And Peter Murphy is a weatherman. That is all your news for this evening. Thanks for joining us. Good night.